Automotive safety has long been something that various companies as well as individuals have been pursuing for some time. Of course, one of the earliest treatises on automotive safety was Ralph Nader's Unsafe at Any Speed, which detailed what he alleged were unsafe handling characteristics of the first generation Chevrolet Corvair. Most of that was due to its rear swing arm style suspension, which, while relatively similar to other vehicles, including VWs at the time, Nader, for whatever reason, decided to target Chevrolet, perhaps because its parent company, General Motors, was the largest company in the U.S. And as a result, automotive safety took a significant turn in the 1960s, and you'd see things like seat belts becoming standard, the temporary elimination of hood ornaments, increased rollover standards, as well as side impact standards, and bumper standards, which we've detailed on this channel before, that really began rolling out in 1972, 1973. But this has gone on to, let's say, new levels of interestingness. That's not a word, but I'm going to make it up anyway, as time has progressed. And of course, airbags are now standard in many vehicles, anti-lock brakes, and other safety features, even forward collision alert, blind spot monitoring. But one of the most interesting, I think, is the pedestrian impact standard that exists nowadays. In other words, automakers have to design vehicles such that if they hit a pedestrian at lower speeds, that the pedestrian's impact is controlled in a certain way to minimize their injuries. This sounds interesting. I mean, if you're going to get hit by a car, the chances that you don't have an injury are probably relatively low unless it's a low-speed collision. But nonetheless, this is something that automakers do have to consider when they're designing vehicles. And as an example, some cars even have what are called active hoods. Now, what does that mean? That often means that the rear portion of the hood basically extends or raises a little bit when the car detects that there is an impending collision with the pedestrian. One of the first vehicles on the domestic side to employ this technology was the Buick LaCrosse, the one that was introduced for the 2017 model year. And you can see here in this picture, when the active hood is deployed, it raises that portion of the hood near the windshield up by several inches, again, to help control where the pedestrian's body kind of lands as they impact the car. There are other vehicles that employ similar technology, including the Tesla Model 3, which you can see here in a screenshot from Tesla's website. They talk about how the car has an active hood to do something similar. Now, once this active hood is deployed, one has to really go back to the dealer and have a number of sensors reset, as well as the overall equipment reset before you can continue driving your car in a normal fashion. Apparently, these types of devices must be thought to be effective because they're becoming more commonplace on vehicles today. But did you know that active hoods, well, let's not say active hoods, but car catchers and pedestrian impact type devices, or devices that were designed to minimize injuries when cars hit individuals, have taken on many forms over the years. In fact, a number of inventions were existing in the 1920s and 1930s to help deal with this problem specifically. You can imagine that back then that roads were, well, a hodgepodge of automobiles as well as pedestrians. The road system wasn't all that well organized back then, and in some cases even streetcars and trolleys. So there was a lot of traffic, let's say, that was on the roads when these cars were first introduced in the 1920s, 1930s. And as a result, various inventors came up with different styles of automotive inventions to try to help with pedestrian impact safety. Let's take a look at some of these examples now. Here's an early example from what I believe is France of a so-called, I'll call it a car catcher design. One of these designs was actually called the car catcher, I believe. But this is an early European version from the 1920s, and notice it's basically just a basket that this individual has somehow, well, I don't think that he would fall into this position naturally. And if he did, that wouldn't have been a soft blow because that basket is metal and the radiator is also metal. But at least somebody was thinking about, well, what happens in the event that a pedestrian crashes into a vehicle? Perhaps a more humorous one was literally called the car catcher. And this is from the late 30s. You notice that there's this metal structure and then a canvas, I guess, cushioning system that if somebody were to hit a vehicle or to come into collision with it, they would be caught up in this messy piece of, I guess, padded canvas, and somehow that was going to help them avoid injury. I'm not exactly sure because, like I said, I believe the frame on this is metal, so you have to hope that you're kind of laying down and you hit this at the right angle such that you don't have an injury. But, well, I guess it was a good idea. What do you think? Put a comment in the comment section about the so-called car catcher. Now, here you can see the car catcher in its undeployed form. I don't know how the engine gets much cooling. Perhaps that's because that fabric is made of canvas and it's breathable, but I have to imagine that this blocks the airflow into the radiator, so maybe it's not the best device, and it's certainly not that attractive having this on the front end of your vehicle. It looks like a big canvas bumper, but, well, I guess it was better than not having it. Let's take a look at another invention. This one was called the Man Catcher. And notice the caption says, this safety device consists of 3 rollers attached to the radiator of the vehicle. Directly, the rollers touch an obstacle. They automatically drop to the ground and push it away. So these rollers are going to drop to the ground and just push that pesky pedestrian out of the way. I don't know if that was, again, a good idea or not. This doesn't seem like it's focused on safety as much as it is clearing an obstacle. Oh, but, what are you going to do? And then here's another type of these car catcher, man catcher, whatever you want to call them. Again, not a very safe-looking instrument. This is, again, a metal basket-style type of device. And you'll notice this individual here does not look like they're having fun getting hit by this particular vehicle. And I can't make out the name of the vehicle that is on the radiator there. Maybe somebody can detect it and put it in the comment section. So in any case, while you thought that pedestrian safety was something new, well, no, it really wasn't. There were a number of vehicles that were devised to try to help out with automotive safety. Here's one last one. Again, a man who's, I guess, caught up in this, I don't know what you want to call it, metal frame. And I just don't think that that's going to really help with overall safety unless this is a very, very low-speed collision. So what do you think? Is this kind of a silly endeavor, or is it reasonable to have pedestrian impact standards? After all, automotive safety is important, and, well, individuals come into contact with vehicles on a frequent basis. Put a comment in the comment section. What is your favorite one of these inventions? And let's discuss it a little bit more as we go through the comments. Thanks again for watching.